Welcome back to Whence, a Freemasonic podcast featuring research papers and discussions related to Freemasonry. I'm your host, Brother Robert Johnson. This is episode 166. Well, in the news, Grand Lodge was pretty awesome as usual. Some controversial things did come up. The Grand Lodge of Illinois suspended recognition with the Grand Lodge of Cuba over some jurisdictional issues that it had with the Grand Lodge of Florida. I bought some great pins, lots of cool stuff. I brought with me several members of our lodge who were new to Masonry. I felt it was a super important part for them to come see what happens down at Grand Lodge and how awesome it can be. While down there, I was honored to be named the District Education Officer for the 1st Northeast District under the Grand Lodge of Illinois. So many thanks to all the brothers at my lodge who have been mentors, Jay Reed and especially Ira Gilbert. I can't forget my mentor Curtis Carman, who has gone on ahead of us to the undiscovered country. But Curtis, I know you can hear me. This is because of you, brother. So thanks wherever you are. Last week we talked to the Mason's lady, Michaela, who was so awesome and she was hilarious. Again, I hope you're checking out her site, which is www.themasonslady.com. You can find links to that on wcypodcast.com as well. The Masonic Radio Theater is underway for episode number 2. This should be out by the end of this month. It's a little bit of a shorter episode. We're probably aiming for between 10 to 15 minutes on this one. It's an adaptation of an old Tyler talk, so I hope you guys really like it. Again, it's www.masonicradiotheater.com. If you love Masonic podcasts, then check out the Masonic Podcast Network, where I have compiled many of the best Masonic podcasts out there. So it's themasonicpodcastnetwork.com. We put them under one roof. And I, by no means, am suggesting that I have anything to do with any of the podcasts there, with the exception of the 3 you know me from: Whence, the Masonic Roundtable, and the Masonic Radio Theater. The rest of them are completely awesome in their own right, but I wanted to give everybody out there who listens to this show a chance to check out some of the other ones that are out there, which are very good. I wanted to say congratulations to Todd E. Creason. His baby, the Midnight Freemasons, was mentioned on the Scottish Rite Now email distribution as one of the cooler Masonic blogs out there. So many thanks to the Scottish Rite folks for mentioning us in their email. So we'll get right into the paper of the week, which is called Secrecy, which is a short talk bulletin. Volume number 5 came out in January of 1927. The author is unknown. Secrecy. An old Greek philosopher, when asked what he regarded as the most valuable quality to win and the most difficult to keep, he replied, quote, "To be secret and silent," end quote. If secrecy was difficult in the olden times, it's doubly difficult today in the loud and noisy world in which we live, where privacy is almost unknown. Secrecy is indeed a priceless but rare virtue. So little effort is made to teach it and practice it. The world of today is a whispering gallery where everything is heard, a hall of mirrors where nothing is hid. If the ancient worshipped a god of silence, we seem about to set up an altar to a god of gossip. Someone has said that if Masonry did no more than to train its men to preserve sacredly the secrets of the others confided to them as such, except where a higher duty demands disclosure, it would be doing a great work, and one which not only justifies its existence, but entitles it to the respect of mankind. Anyway, no Mason needs to be told of the value of secrecy. Without it, Masonry would cease to exist, or else becoming something so different from what it is as to be unrecognizable. For that reason, if no other, the very first lesson taught to a candidate and impressed upon him at every turn in unforgettable ways is the duty of secrecy. Yet, strictly speaking, Masonry is not a secret society, if by that we mean a society whose very existence is hidden. Everybody knows that the Masonic Fraternity exists, and no effort is made to hide that fact. Its organization is known, its temples stand in our cities, its members are proud to be known as Masons. Anyone may obtain from the records of a Grand Lodge, if not from the printed reports of lodges, the names and the members of the craft. Nor can it be said that Masonry has any secret truth to teach, unknown to the wisdom of the human race. Most of the talk about esoteric Masonry misses the mark. When the story is told, the only secret turns out to be some odd theory, some fanciful philosophy of no real importance. The wisdom of Masonry is hidden, not because it is subtle, but because it is simple. Its secret is profound, not obscure. As in mathematics there are primary figures, and in music fundamental notes, upon which everything rests, so Masonry is built upon the broad, deep, lofty truths upon which life itself stands. It lives, moves, and has its being in those truths. They are mysteries indeed, as life and duty and death are mysteries. To know them is to be truly wise, and to teach them in their full import is the ideal at which Masonry aims. Masonry, then, is not a secret society. It is a private order. In the quiet of the tiled lodge, shut away from the noise and the clatter of the world, in an air of reverence and friendship, it teaches us the truths that make us men, upon which faith and character must rest if they are to endure the wind and the weather of life. So rare is its utter simplicity that to many it is as much a secret as though it were hid behind a sevenfold veil or buried in the depths of the earth. What is the secret in Masonry? The method of its teaching, the atmosphere it creates, the spirit it breathes into our hearts, and the tie it spins and weaves between men. In other words, the lodge and its ceremonies and obligations, its signs, tokens, and words, its power to evoke what is most secret and hidden in the hearts of men. No one can explain how this is done. We only know that it is done, and guard as a priceless treasure the method by which it is wrought. It is the fashion of some to say that our ceremony, signs, and tokens are of little value, but it is not true. They are of profound importance, and we cannot be too careful in protecting them from profanation and abuse. The famous eulogy of the signs and tokens of Masonry by Benjamin Franklin was not idle eloquence. It is justified by the facts and ought to be known and remembered. Quote, "These signs and tokens are of no small value. They speak a universal language and act as a password to the attention and support of the initiated in all parts of the world. They cannot be lost so long as memory retains its power. Let the possessor of them be expatriated, shipwrecked, or imprisoned. Let him be stripped of everything he has in the world. Still, these credentials remain and are available for use as circumstances require. The great effects which they have produced are established by the most incontestable facts of history. They have stayed the uplifted hand of the destroyer. They have softened the aspirates of the tyrant. They have mitigated the horrors of captivity. They have subdued the rancor of malevolence and broken down the barriers of political animosity and sectarian alienation. On the field of battle, in the solitude of the uncultivated forests, or in the busy haunts of the crowded city, they have made men of the most hostile feelings and most distant religions and the most diversified conditions rush to the aid of each other and feel a social joy and satisfaction that they have been able to afford relief to a brother Mason." End quote. What is equally true and no less valuable is that in the ordinary walks of everyday life, they unite men and hold them together in a manner unique and holy. They open a door out of the loneliness in which every man lives. They form a tie uniting us to help one another and others in ways too many to name or count. They form a network of fellowship, friends, and fraternity around the world. They add something lovely and fine to the life of each of us, without which we should be poorer indeed. Still, let us never forget that it is the spirit that gives us life. The letter alone is empty. An old home means 1,000 beautiful things to those who were brought up in it. Its very scenery and setting are sacred. The ground on which it stands is holy. But if a stranger buys it, these sacred things mean nothing to him. The spirit is gone. The glory has faded. Just so with the lodge. If it were opened to the curious gaze of the world, its beauty would be blighted, its power gone. The secret of Masonry, like the secret of life, can be known only by those who seek it, serve it, and live it. It cannot be uttered. It can only be felt and acted. It is, in fact, an open secret, and each man knows it according to his quest and capability. Like all the things most worth knowing, no one can know it for another, and no one can know it alone. It is known only in fellowship, by the touch of life upon it, by the touch of life upon life, spirit upon spirit, knee to knee, breast to breast, hand to hand. For that reason, no one need be alarmed about any book written to expose Masonry. It is utterly harmless. The real secret of Masonry cannot be learned by prying eyes or curious inquiry. We do well to protect the privacy of the lodge, but the secret of Masonry can be known only by those who are ready and worthy to receive it. Only a pure heart and an honest mind can know it, though they be adepts in all signs and tokens of every rite of the craft. Indeed, so far from trying to hide its secret masonry, is all the time trying to give it to the world in one way, in the only way in which it can be given, through a certain quality of soul and character which it labors to create and build up, to the making of men, helping self-discovery and self-development. All the offices of masonry are dedicated. It is a quarry in which the rough stones of manhood are polished for use and beauty. If masonry uses the illusion of secrecy, it's because it knows that it is the nature of man to seek what is hidden and to desire what is forbidden. Even God hides from us, that in seeking him amid the shadows of life we may find both him and ourselves. The man who does not care enough for God to seek him will never find him, though he is not far away from any one of us. One who looks at masonry in this way will find that his Masonic life is a great adventure. It is a perpetual discovery. There is something new at every turn, something new in himself as life deepens with the years, something new in masonry as its meaning unfolds. The man who finds its degrees tedious and its ritual rigmarole only betrays the measure of his own mind. If a man knows God and man to the uttermost, even masonry has nothing to teach him. As a fact, the wisest man knows very little. The way is dim, and no one can see very far. We are seekers after truth, and God has so made us that we cannot find the truths alone, but only in the love and the service of our fellow man. Here is the real secret, and to learn it is to have the key to the meaning and joy of life. Truth is not a gift. It is a trophy. To know it, we must be true. To find it, we must seek. To learn it, we must be humble. And to keep it, we must have a clear mind, a courageous heart, and the brotherly love to use it in the service of man. All right, that's one of my favorite Short Talk bulletins. In fact, it's probably one of my favorite Masonic papers ever. It says so much. And again, this was from 1927. He was talking about a loud world in 1927. How much louder and distracted are we today? It's pretty incredible if we think about that. So many points in that paper to comprehend and to think about. Well, it's time for me to ask you to support the show. We have three main ways of doing that. The first is through our applications, our mobile device apps, if you will. We have our Windows app for Windows mobile devices. We have Android app for our Android devices and Apple apps for our Apple devices. What do these apps do? In short, they are nothing more than an application that allows you to listen to the show, whether streaming, but the difference is with our app, you actually get to download the show if you'd like to, and you also get access to the papers that we read on the show. So again, my favorite paper ever will be available in the app, as well as a Masonic wallpaper that I try to put together for you guys every week. So if you buy the app for $2, you get access to essentially, there are 166 episodes, so you will get 166 backgrounds and almost 166 papers, $2. And it just keeps on giving. So again, if you'd like to do that, please check out the Support the Show tab on wcypodcast.com. The other things that you'll see when you click that tab is a button that will allow you to donate to us through PayPal. You pick the amount, whether it's $1 or $2 or 50 cents. It doesn't really matter. What matters is you get to pick whatever you want to donate. It helps keep the lights on for sure. It is by far the most popular and effective way to support this show. The third way is through shopping. I would urge you, whether you're a Mason or not, check out freemasonryart.com. Brother Juan Sepulveda has put together a ton of great merchandise, but it's not just your typical coffee mug with a square and compass. Everything he does is done in his amazing artistic style. He has prints and he has aprons that are made with real lambskin. Just amazing stuff there, and I'd urge you to check it out for yourself. www.freemasonryart.com. It's going to take you right to his page where you can purchase things, and don't be alarmed, the top of the page says The Winding Stairs. It's one and the same. The Winding Stairs podcast, Juan Sepulveda, and freemasonryart.com. It's all the same entity, and he has a wonderful set of prints and aprons for you guys to check out. And so at checkout, you put in the coupon code WCY. It gives you a small percentage off, and in addition, Brother Juan sends a little bit this way. So check that stuff out. So this week, I wanted to read a second paper, and this is another short talk bulletin, and it's called What? It's from May 1925, volume number 3, it's number 5, and again, by unknown. What? By unknown. What has Masonry done for me? Let each brother who hears the question answer it for himself, but let him answer it carefully, and with slow thought, not hastily and carelessly. Most brethren will make an answer somewhat as follows, quote, Freemasonry has given me sweetness in my life, the sweetness of brotherhood, the feeling of oneness with my fellows. In its shelter I have made many friends I would not and could not have made otherwise. I have taken from them that cheery smile, that helpful word, which has made the rough places in the path of life smoother. I have received from them the encouragement, the heartening, the courage, which have made the battle easier to win. Freemasonry has given me the mystic tie, the tie which no man may put into words, yet which binds the closer, that it is intangible. Bonds of silk are Freemasonry's chains, yet none of steel could hold as tightly or wear as softly. The mystic tie, which I am privileged to renew about the holy altar of my lodge as often as I will. I find the perfume of life, the lovely colors of the love of man for man, and the gentle touch of a friendly hand, than which there is nothing softer in all existence. Freemasonry has given me education. It has taught me that there is a greater reward for unselfishness than for self-seeking, that there is a high wage to be earned for good work, true work, square work, done for the love of the labor, and not love of the wage. It has given me the opportunity to know of high aim, of lofty aspiration, of patriotism, of struggle upward through the mire of discouragement, with eyes fixed always on the star. It has given me an inspiration." End quote. Many a brother can speak of what Freemasonry has done for him in terms of the practical workday world, of the note endorsed, the fund given, the trip arranged, the sick visited, the flowers received, the loved ones comforted in grief. But for every man who has had the material help, 1,000 have had the spiritual gifts of Freemasonry, and most of us, let us thank God, have not had to ask for or receive even the beautiful charity of brotherhood. All of this being so, and let him who finds it untrue arise now in his place and deny, if he can, that Masonry has so benefited him. It is but fair and honest that as true an answer be given to the, quote, "What have I done for Masonry?" There will be some who reply to themselves, "I have served as an officer, I have conferred degrees, I have borne the heat and the burden of the day." They are the lucky ones, for they have received the more, as they have given the more. But the great majority of us cannot so answer, since there are but few officers in proportion to the number of craftsmen. So ask again, my brother, you have never served in an official capacity. Quote, "What have I done for the Freemasonry which has done so much for me?" Nay, my brother, you need not be ashamed if the catalogue of your services is short and small, for there must always be those who are but the background, who take without giving, who receive without effort the largesse of their brethren, who have learned the great lesson that to give is to receive, that to put forth is to have returned, aye, 100-fold. Yet there will be many who hear the question and answer it to themselves and are ashamed, and these will want to know, quote, "What can I do for Freemasonry? I would pay my debt. I would also be in the ranks of those who give as well as receive." Freemasonry is not a thing. It is not an organization, a system of men and officers, of lodges and grand lodges. The organization, the system, the men, the officers, the grand lodges are but the vehicle through which Freemasonry expresses itself. A man might be the sole inhabitant of a lonely island where there was no brother, no lodge, no grand lodge, no dues, no Masonic work to do, and yet carry Freemasonry in his heart. And if there were two in that lonely land, Freemasonry could find a way to express itself. For Freemasonry is coin of the heart, and therefore can only be paid to the heart. What you can for Freemasonry then is largely what you can do for your own and your brother's heart. It is agreed between us that he who serves the vehicle also serves the spirit of Freemasonry, that the brother who labors on her material temple, who serves his lodge, who acts upon committees, who provides entertainment, who tiles, sweeps, makes the fire, and fills the lamps, serves truly and serves well. But when all the physical labor is done, there is still much to do, and when all may have done the toil, there is still design upon the trestle board. Therefore, my brother, answer in terms of the heart, not the muscles, the pocketbook, the voice, or the time spent attending lodges. What have I done for Freemasonry? If all of Freemasonry was in the hearts of 10 brethren, and 91% of it was in one heart, and each of the other 9 had but 1%, would the 10 be happy, successful, and well-paid Freemasons? They would not. But but as each one of the 9 rose in knowledge and in the practice of Freemasonry, he would benefit not only himself, but all the rest as well. And when 10 knew all and practiced all of the gentle arts of Freemasonry, surely those 10 would make a happy lodge. This homely little illustration is intended to bring home to him who hears it with the ears of his mind the fact that Freemasonry is better as each of us who professes it practices it. No man may make of himself a better Freemason and not benefit his brethren. So to him who asks in all humanity, quote, I have not done much, show me how I may do more, end quote. The answer is, quote, first, by making yourself a better Freemason. To be a quote-unquote better Freemason means, first of all, to know something about Freemasonry. There will be those who hear the message who know a great deal of Freemasonry. Let them answer for themselves if they think they know enough. But the great majority of us are content to know that there is a wonderful story to be read sometime. Who would truly be able to do something for Freemasonry if they would make that time? Right now. Where did Freemasonry come from? How did it come to a weary world? What has been its history? What are its accomplishments? What has it done to justify itself? What are its laws, its old charges, its landmarks? What did Freemasonry do in the making of this government of ours? What had Freemasonry done with the stars and stripes, and the white stars and the heaven blue? What do the symbols of Freemasonry teach? Why do we have 3 degrees? And how did they come to be? How was the world lost? And will that which was lost ever be found? Answer, you ask. Quote unquote, what shall I do for Freemasonry? And if you cannot, then inform yourself so that Masonry may have one more recruit who knows something of her glorious history, her purpose, and her mysteries. But it is not enough to know something of Freemasonry. Those who would really help Freemasonry must not only know it, but quote unquote, live it. Ask yourself once more, my brother, and answer, though only you will hear it. What do I do every day that is Masonic? How do I use my Freemasonry in my daily life? For there is an Alpha and Omega, the beginning and end of Freemasonry, the most wonderful of philosophies, the most divine truths, the most sublime of conceptions, the most learned of teachings, which are as ineffective as a summer shower to quell a raging fire, if they not be lived. All of us are human, and all of us, therefore, struggle against the same enemies. All of us have within us a something to subdue as well as a something which subdues. As Freemasons, we are taught that we came here to subdue our passions and improve ourselves. We accomplish the former only as we succeed in the latter. Passions, my brother, does not mean merely anger or lust. The passions of selfishness, the passions of self-interest, the passion of avarice, of deceit, of unneighborliness, of cruelty, of carelessness, these as well as all of the other enemies against which man's spirit struggles are to be subdued and conquered the more easily as we bring the fighting ranks of Freemasonry militant teachings to engage them. This is not intended as preaching, my brother. This is but a humble attempt to answer the question you are to ask yourself as to how may you help Freemasonry. You may help her by helping yourself, by making Freemasonry the rule and guide of your daily life, just as you would make the book upon the altar the rule and guide of your faith and life. It is not enough merely to be honest. A Freemason's honesty is never questioned. Like the sunshine, it is to be taken for granted. It is not enough to be just. Justice is a conception of man. Mercy is God, and Freemasonry teaches it. It is not enough to have friends. A good Freemason must be a better friend than he ever expects any man to do to him. For it is written, quote, give, and it shall be given unto you, end quote. There is room for Freemasonry in every business deal. In every act of everyday life. There is a place for Freemasonry's smile in every greeting and in every kiss. There is a chance for Freemasonry's gentle heart in every touch of a hand to a child or word spoken to the weak and helpless. There is a blessing of Freemasonry to be given to the ill and unfortunate, and a benediction of Freemasonry to be offered the sinful and erring. Freemasonry is the most glorious heritage, the most sublime of conceptions of the heart, and they ask these brethren what they can do for her. They can take her to their souls. They can live her in their lives. They can express her in their every act and make of her not a cry of man's voice to deity, but a song of his heart and to God. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Yet another great short talk bulletin from the 1920s. Some would consider the golden age of Masonry. Next is this week's famous Freemason, considered to be one of the fathers of spiritual alchemy, Elias Ashmole. Born May 23, 1617, passed away May 18th or 19th, it's unclear, in 1692. He was born in Lichfield, Staffordshire, England. Elias Ashmole was a chemist and antiquarian. Ashmole included in his diary references to his having been a member of a Masonic lodge. The dates of these meetings are placed at 16th of October, 1646, and again on 11th of March, 1682. He was deeply interested in the medicinal uses of plants and a member of the Royal Society in 1861, although not active. He was apparently initiated on October 16th, 1646. That's it for this week. Please check us out on Facebook, follow on Twitter at Whence. You can follow us on Google Plus at the email address wcypodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget about the Masonic Roundtable, which is like The View but with Freemasons. It's a really entertaining program, and we do it live every Tuesday at 10/9 Central. Check out the Masonic Radio Theater at masonicradiotheater.com for an old radio experience littered with Freemasonry. It is quite an enjoyable show. If you haven't checked out the first episode called The Craftsman, I strongly urge you to check it out. It is brand new stuff presented in an old medium. So you will hear record pops and things, and I have heard praise of it, and I have heard gentlemen who do not like the pops and hisses. Unfortunately, that is the shtick, so that is where it is going to be. I hope you enjoy it. Please don't forget about the Midnight Freemasons. Again, we publish 3 articles every week, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And if you got a little bit of extra time, check out fraternalties.com for the best neckties on the planet. I can't wait to get my new watch that Brother John Paul Gomez has come out with. It's going to be fantastic. When I get it, I of course will do a unboxing set of photographs that I usually do on Facebook, so stay tuned for that. And I'll talk to all of you guys next week. Stay on the level. And for Whence, I'm Robert Johnson.